And we are recording on Saturday, November 29th, 2025 at 10:19 a.m. Eastern Time with Mr. Vince Lanci, who's been on here, been on, I don't know, 5, 10 times before. You guys can go to the description. You can find his Twitter. You can find his Substack. You can find his website. You can find all that writing. I think one of the first episodes you and I did was kind of like playing with the idea of Cold War II, and then I think that was in like 2022 or 2023, and then as things unfolded and the balkanization of the world and kind of the arisal of less of a U.S. empire centric planet to more of the multipolar world that we're seeing today, which we kind of just kept going into it deeper and deeper. And one thing I've been bringing up, and again, as I just said to you before this, I know it's not a novel idea. But the idea of a Manhattan Project for AI, and I think the first time I said it on this show was in summer 2020 with General Spalding,
Mhm.
and and now it's kind of coming true. And again, it's not a novel idea. It's like saying, what if aliens exist? Like it's impressive, but it's not my idea. And
Right.
then so I had just done a show 2 weeks ago with two authors, Garrett Graff and Mr. Richard Rhodes, the latter of whom is like the authority on nuclear weapons. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning author and kind of refreshing everything. And I've read about the Manhattan Project a trillion times, but just recently doing it again and finding just how many things where we can see in hindsight what it was, but at the time it was all these front companies and no one knew what it was. Not even when Truman became president, he still didn't find out for 13 days after he became president. And I had screenshotted something or whatever, and I'd sent it to you in kind of the same vein of Cold War II. And I think it was the
Right.
next day they come out and announced the Genesis Project, which is, in the shortest phrase, it's the Manhattan Project for AI. Some people say it's more of an Apollo program because you don't announce the Manhattan Project, you do announce the Apollo program. I think it's probably both. I think it's probably almost already finished,
Right.
but we're announcing it now. And I'll wrap up this bit with saying my older brother did classified research at Georgia Tech, and I remember in 2013, Popular Science released an article about the successor to the SR-72 or the SR-71 spy plane, and it will be flying in 10 to 15 years. My brother said, "Well, so what that means is it's been flying for 10 to 15 years."
Right. Right. Right.
And
Exactly.
so when I look at this, I go, "This is fascinating." But I also don't think Trump created Space Force. I think he declassified it. That's kind of my feeling on all of this, and that is in general what I know. But
Yeah.
yeah, you just read into it, so your initial thoughts.
Yeah. Well, first, good to see you again, and happy Thanksgiving.
Of course, you as well.
Um, yeah. When we connected over Cold War II, that was at the time when it became obvious to me, geoeconomically, that supply chains had to be rebuilt. And again, by now that's a beaten path. But back in 2021, 22, when we were talking about it, that was early. And the idea was, if everyone's going to have to onshore their supply chains, then they're going to have to also onshore their payment chains, which means you bring your money back, you bring your gold home. And back then, it was I looked at it in a very mercantilist sort of way, right? So a deglobalization, a fragmentation, and actually a potential collapse of the global society. And uh, the next phase was the conversation I had with you, where you had already been focusing on, well, if this is happening and it's a done deal, as opposed to fighting it, let's look at how they would maintain their regional powers. And that's where you and I, primarily you, identified or hatched the idea of the Cold War II. I remember that graphic. That was very funny.
As you and I
Uh,
in like Soviet uniforms.
Yeah, yeah. I think the whole premise back then was there's a new Iron Curtain going up, and it's dividing East and West, or ideologically, it's dividing East and West. We were, generally speaking, the West is, woke and liberal democracy, or liberal democracy on tilt at the woke end, and on the right, on the other side, actually, China and the BRICS are more materialist, but they're not communist anymore. So it's like they're old school capitalists. And we started to look at things like how would they keep each side in line? And it starts with the propaganda, right? It started with the propaganda. They stopped accepting our news, and it got harder and harder for me to hear what was going on in other countries. Uh, and then they started restricting the flow of capital. They started debanking people who were using crypto. That was all during 21, 22. And you and I kept going down this rabbit hole. And at that point, one of the main themes for our conversation that we've both been looking at from different perspectives is how will they control or ring fence the population that they already have control over? So, how would you preserve the empire that you have? And back then, the reason we got into this was because this was before Argentina, this is before Venezuela, this is before everything. We were looking at it like I remember this conversation very clearly. It was like, all right, well, if American empire is receding, if it's leaving military bases because we can't get financing, because we want to protect, it was like kind of a new Monroe Doctrine, right? But the Monroe Doctrine at the time was, and this is a fractal thing, if the world is separating, then we're not going to have military bases as many in the Middle East. Our presence won't be there, and you guys are going to have to suck it up. I mean, the flip side is you have to suck it up. We're not going to be your global cop anymore, right? And that's because you're not lending us money to finance it. So then the conversation we had then was the only thing I remember like nailing back then was, well, then we're going to look at it as a hemisphere. So we're going to have to, like in the Cold War, we got to get communism off of
Our
our continent,
backyard. Yeah.
right? The Contras and the Sandinistas and all that shit that happened in Latin America. Well, it's the same thing. We talked about this then. We need to establish a base in Latin America and get the BRICS out of there. So Brazil and Venezuela are on the radar, and we made landfall in Argentina. Now, a friend of mine who's a former, I don't know if you're ever former military intelligence, but former military intelligence guy, one of the people who probably who Snowden used to report to on the
Sure.
states, right? He said, "Look," he goes, "we need to establish a base down there." And he and I talked about it. And I said, "Well, Argentina is really struggling. We could own them. We could bail. This is way before. This is you and I talked about this. We could, rescue them. We can make Argentina Israel, down in Latin America." And sure enough, Milei gets elected pretending to be a libertarian, but he's really a Reagan Republican, which is, better than what they had. And I went back to my buddy, my military person, and I go, well, I understand economically why Argentina works. This is again before we just invested in them. I said, well, what's the other reason? There's got to be. He goes, well, Argentina is sitting on a shit ton of lithium. Argentina is like apparently like 60% of the world's lithium that's been found is this triangle,
And it's
Argentina.
and it's a lot closer than Afghanistan, which is, I believe, the next biggest deposit.
Right. And we pulled out of that. We pulled out of Afghanistan. This was the conversation we had. Well, Afghanistan's got lithium. If we're abandoning that, what do we have? And at the time, I said, well, Japan found some lithium, so maybe that's it. But the answer was, as we just figured out together, it was Argentina.
Actually, and sorry to keep interrupting. I
No,
believe, and they're not completely sure, but they think as of this summer or last summer, they think actually the world's largest deposit is actually here in the state of Maine.
in Maine,
They're not entirely sure yet. Yeah, it's like less than a year old that this is like coming out.
that's new. That's new to me. Because
Yeah,
I mean, but it makes sense. Is lithium found in like
I've
what
no,
kind of
I don't,
geography
I
has
can't even
lithium?
speak. I can't even speak on it with any authority. I have no fucking idea.
Right. I mean,
No
you see
idea.
when you see pictures of it, it's like salt flats. They look like,
Yeah.
But then again, there's lithium in Arkansas. You're telling me it's in Maine. Argentina and Colombia have a lot of mountains. Maybe it's a mountainous deposit.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of mountains up here, and there's a lot of people saying they're like, well, yeah, that they're never gonna tap it because it's all wildlife reserves up here. And I was just kind of like, hey,
Nope.
you got another thing coming. If you don't think the Pentagon's not gonna fucking, they will roll in here with tanks like it's a sovereign nation and
Oh yeah.
overthrow. If they need this for national security, they will destroy every mountain
Oh yeah.
range in this goddamn state. They don't
I
give a
mean,
shit. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's what it is.
no, the conversation with the environmentalist is yes, we're worried about this cricket and this spotted owl.
Yeah.
But if we don't have a nation, the communists or
Yeah.
the BRICS communists are going to kill these spotted owls too. So if there's
Yeah.
no nation, there's no spotted owl anyway. So we're
Yeah.
coming in. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So the reason I brought all that in is because that was the background that I recalled. And then you reached out to me, and I had my, I wasn't really focused on this, but you're telling me that you say Genesis Project. I think of like the Genesis device from Star Wars. Star Trek. That thing. But anyway, that's another thing. So you reach out to me and you say, well, this is the next chapter in Cold War 2.0, and that's right. So you and I dissected, just again to very quickly recap. You and I dissected the changing world very quite well. That was a good time, and then we moved to, well, how are we going to as nations control our regions? And now we're beyond that, and we both agree that this is how you control the people. So it's fractally getting down to, you know, visual recognition on your iPhone. That's what it is. So we both looked at this. I just looked at it this morning with you. Should we go through what is it? Is I guess what I'm asking.
Yeah, you can pull it up on broad strokes. It's a Manhattan Project for AI. And but the official statement is kind of comically broad. It's everything from fusion to quarks and gluons and the nature of the cosmos, which I feel like is a given. You kind of, this is going to replace everything. I feel like that's kind of run of the mill PR
Right.
bullshit. What it really is it's the Manhattan Project for AI. And again, I've said it a trillion times on the show. I'd point everyone to the article "Situational Awareness" by Leopold Aschenbrenner. It's essentially saying like all this stuff is happening, and what you need to realize is we're not going to just allow random corporations to create AGI. The U.S. government is going to pool all of them, classify all of it. They're going to set up barriers to entry so no random startup can get in. It's going to be all the good old boy networks, and they're
Right.
going to use that and they're going to centralize it, and they're going to sort of awaken from its slumber of random endless wars, and instead they're going to kind of put the coals to it in the way you see at the Cold War. And I think an important point to point out is when we say that there's a new Cold War happening, we also want it to happen. But this isn't, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. We want it to happen.
Wait,
It's
wait.
a
Do you mean I'm gonna interject like I'm like
yeah.
I'm your like I'm your audience here? You mean we want it to happen? Why? Like, why do we
I
want it to
think the
happen?
U.S. empire wants it to happen because one, I think just cynically, it's the best payday. You can
Yeah, yeah,
run this
yeah,
shit
yeah.
for 40, 50 years. You can trillions of dollars. We're gonna put things in space. And it also, I think I don't even think it's like in terms of like a general, I don't know, theme. I don't think it's even that bad, to be totally honest. I think
No,
when you don't have it, shit gets kind of crazy, and it does just turn into the biggest issues are like, how many genders are there, and can like a dog consent versus like 1945 through 90. Yeah, you have the threat of thermonuclear Armageddon, but it also kind of makes it all. Those are the bad guys, and we just got to dump all of our money into scientific research for
it's
weapons.
there's so many. I agree with you.
I
There's
don't
so
think
many
it's a
ways.
bad sheepdog, all things considered. I really don't. It's better if it's better than killing God knows how many people in the Middle
Look,
East for nothing. It's like
let,
let's at least push the world in a direction. Let's go to
there's
space, fusion, whatever.
yeah. If I can add to that, just the different perspectives. Same exact ideas. First of all, just simply speaking, during the Cold War, technological advances were there, like a Lennon and McCartney thing. They were opposite people who made great music because of the tension, and the competition made the world grow. And that's the first thing. Now that may not be a reason to have a Cold War, but I'll tell you this. Having a well-defined enemy or competitor allows you to focus on that which is important and not which bathroom you are in. It
Yeah.
allows you to focus on improving life, protecting your people, and not making mountains out of molehills because you have a real
Yes.
fucking
It's
potential mountain there,
yeah.
right?
I think
That's what you're
I think it's a
saying.
good organizing principle for humanity. I really do.
Marshaling resources towards a common goal is what nationalism and even communistic socialism, if you want to look at it that way, do. they give you a common goal, and it's much easier under fascism to have a common enemy. I'm German, you're not. I'm going to kill you. It's easy. Same color skin, same color hair. But and nationalism is another way. But the way that got us through it in World War II, and this is key, I think, the way that got us through it in World War II is we did not go about being nationalistic from an ethnicity. We went about nationalistic, and this is a positive statement. We were nationalistic in terms of ideas. So American pride, American know-how, American innovation. And if this goes right, it's the same idea. It's I'm proud to be an American. We're all Americans when this is happening, when it's going well. If it goes bad, and believe me, it can go bad, we are definitely going down a path of corporatism. To your point, corporatism, meaning government gets heavily, actively involved in industry, and there's all different. It could be socialistic, it could be nationalistic, it could be it can be fascistic, but corporatism is the first level, and that level is, hey, I'm going to invest 10% in Intel, and down and here, I mean, this is like me. This is me being aware of the risks, not even getting into the fact that how they're just going to control us, but being aware of the risks while simultaneously trying to think like the people at the top. And it is this: the risk is 20 to 40 years from now, we could deteriorate into either a fascistic capitalist setup or a socialist setup. Either way, it risks serious authoritarianism, whether it be authoritarianism on the left or authoritarianism on the right, and an erosion of democratic values. And that we all feel that's happening now since COVID, right? But as a person in power, I'm like, you know what? That is a big risk. But in the next 5 years, if we don't do something to get organized under an authoritarian mindset, democracy and free market competition will kill us. Because over in China, when they say we want to do this, a billion people do it. And that allows them to be an aircraft carrier that turns like a speedboat,
Hmm.
unified, and meanwhile, we're an aircraft carrier that has to get consensus. And so Trump and this Genesis project creates an umbrella. Everything is it's a what not a blanket. It's a blanket statement, right? It's basically
Umbrella.
everything we umbrella, yeah. Everything that we do is in the best interest of the country. And that supersedes everything. Um, there's it's funny that you called me on this because just yesterday I saw something I have never seen in 30 years in Europe. Not that I'm in Europe. Um, in Europe, they're doing the same thing. And Europe has all been about the Europe version of woke. No nations, only Europe, the bigger whole, but never like as a unit, as a unity, never like as a block. But I saw a video yesterday coming out of Europe, European propaganda, and it said Europe without the influence, and it wasn't far left or far right, it was just national pride. Europe without the hindrance of American influence. And it was like all the things that Europeans have done in the past, the Concorde,
Hmm.
things like the Concorde, right? The high speed rails. And they were pushing this kind of European pan nationalism. And I'm like, holy shit, like we really are deteriorating uh, politically into a three-sectioned world, with Europe being the weakest of the three. But back to your original point, as a person who's in charge, whether it be you or me or the two of us, it's actually the risk to democracy the people in power think is actually the lesser evil now. So I'm with you. But how much freedom will you individually give up to do that? That's the question.
Yeah, again, I guess I just look at it in terms of like 100,000 foot view of like I wouldn't say we're necessarily doing well since the end of the Cold War. I mean, it just it kind of seems lost, directionless. but nonetheless, like that survival instinct, that human instinct to grow and to fight, that never goes away. And I, I think you have to just push that in a direction that is benefit. I'm a crazy. Like I do everything. I dial it up to 11. I get obsessed. And for me, it's in college that was towards studying and getting into med school. And then in
Uh-huh.
the years after that, after my older brother died, it was into drugs and weight gain. But I was just the best at doing drugs and gaining weight. And it was
Right, right, right,
then I start the podcast, and now it's like grow the show, do better at the show for me. And I know that I'm projecting my own character onto the world, but it's like I think to a degree that's accurate. We are going to strive towards a goal and we're going to have an inner group and an outer group. It's just what it is. It's just that's what Homo sapiens do.
wait, 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 wait. What's inner group and outer group mean? What's that mean?
Our tribe, their tribe.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay,
It,
keep going.
it,
I'm sorry.
yeah, and I think without it, and again, it's cynical, but it's like we're not going to go to war. We'll go fucking kick shit around in a desert for 20 years and spend $10 trillion. And as soon as we're out of that, hey, we're doing Ukraine. And after that, it's like, well, we got to help Israel. The next one is obviously going to be like, we got to help
Right,
Taiwan. I mean, if we're not helping Taiwan, we got a carrier strike group outside of Venezuela. It's like at a certain, and so then you have to ask yourself, like, well, if we're gonna go to war, which it seems like we're just going to do, and if we don't, someone else will. It's just what it is.
right,
I, I think the lesser of the evils is a Cold War.
right,
I think objectively, there's less people dying, and it's just this state of constant buildup. And it's again, you can examine
right,
it and talk about the human condition. Yeah, I get it. We should all be holding hands, singing Kumbaya. That's never happened. It never will happen. Shut the fuck up. I think in general, it's like because if we don't do this, then what America's going to do to wipe out our debt is we're going to preemptively just destroy China and Russia, and they're going to destroy us.
right. We need to move. We need to move in a
I th-
direction.
I think
Right,
it's the least. It's like capital. Is capitalism unfair? Of course it is. In terms of the organizing principles of mankind throughout the history of civilization, from the agricultural revolution till now, it's the least worst thing. Our poor people are fat. Okay,
right.
that itself is a huge win compared to the rest of the history of man. I think this is the least worst organizing principle, and I know that's a low bar, but I really think it is.
No, no, no. I'm with you. You know, on the concept of after the Cold War, I want to add something to that. Um, on the philosophy front, I can't, I'm not even sure if I can say the guy's name right, but there was
The end of history.
that guy, Fukushima,
No, not that's the Fukuyama.
Fukuyama,
Fukuyama.
Fukuyama, exactly. So when the Soviet, I mean, this is directly ties into the point of what happens when we don't have an enemy, or doesn't have to be an enemy. What happens when we don't have a goal or something to focus on? The end of history was, generally speaking, written by a very leftist mindset that was saying no more revolutions, communism failed, liberal democracy or capitalism won. And so, therefore, that's the end of history. We're just going to improve in minute ways on democracy and capitalism. Like the basically it was the left, the radical left, throwing in the towel, saying, "Okay, it's over. Communism didn't work. We resign. It's the end of history, and so all we have to do is just keep improving minusculely." And when he did that, when he wrote that, like the left was like really, really, obviously upset because he was basically just this guy Fukuyama was basically just saying, uh, we lost in our pursuit of utopianism. That's what the left is all about: revolution for utopia, at least from my point of view, as a non-leftist. But what happened after the Berlin Wall fell and after communism ended was we had obviously an era of generally speaking global prosperity and peace, but people need to have something to argue about. They need to have a scab to pick at.
You,
So maybe it
you
was
just do.
Russia or what
Yeah.
have you. And so Fukuyama was wrong. It wasn't the end of history. Again, the left was wrong. It was the end. It was the beginning of, and this is where like my opinion comes in, the era between 90s and let's say, if you want to really make it broad as far as COVID, was the uh, the uh, the capitalist utopia, globalism, nothing to fight over, and of course we were picking all our skirmish wars all over the globe. And so the reason I keep using the word utopia is because I was just reading again about an experiment that was done where they put all these mice, like a mouse
Oh,
utopia. Have
yeah,
you heard about
Universe
this?
25. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the mouse utopia. The mouse utopia, long story short, is these mice were provided for. They had nothing to work for,
They
nothing to
all
struggle
fucking
for.
kill each other.
And they all fucking kill. Half of them kill each other. The other half,
They
became
like eat
fat and
themselves to
comatose.
death or yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need a common enemy, which is, by the way, if we can't at least look at China and say, be careful of them, or Russia and say, be careful of them, we need to invent aliens. That's why people talk about aliens. It's something to think
And
about.
that's the
Anyway,
other thing is like the even more fucked up part is like because if we don't do it, someone's just going to invent an enemy.
yeah,
It's just like, did we create Al Qaeda or did they organically do 9/11? Regardless, we looked at that and we were like, this is what we're doing now.
yeah,
And realistically, like, what did we get out of it? What advances came? Let's be very like
right,
cold and calculating about it. What advances came? Better Humvees versus what had came out of the Cold War. I don't know, the internet, commercial space industry. Like,
yep,
what came out of it? A
right.
lot came out of it.
A lot. I mean, right. You want something to worry about? I'll give you something to worry about. And then
Yeah,
once you have something real to worry about, it motivates you. Necessity is the motherhood of invention. I mean,
yeah. So if we're
look,
gonna do it anyway, what do we are we gonna build MRAPs that are better at resisting mines, or are we gonna have self-landing rockets? Like, this one's better. We're getting a lot more out of it.
yeah,
It hasn't
exactly.
even really kicked off yet.
It's crazy, but military applications end up benefiting society in the
It's
long
just
run
what it is, and
as long
it's
as we don't use them.
again, it's just what it is. Like I'm with you. Philosophically, it sucks, but let's be honest. It's just what we are. It's just
Yeah,
what carbon-based life on the Earth does. Is it just kills each other? It's just
right,
what it is.
right,
It
right.
sucks. Whatever.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. It's almost evolutionarily, we're the top of the food chain. And if there's nothing for us to worry about looking up, I guess we just have to kill each other. So we
If
need
we
an
can't kill
enemy.
each other, we'll kill ourselves. It's just we're
Right.
gonna have drones dropping off fucking Big Macs and fentanyl. Like it's just what it is, man.
I know. I know. I know. That's true. Oh shit. So can we read a little bit of this? I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
read
yeah. Share it. Yeah,
this
pull
way
it
we
up.
can, because it'll give us more ideas
Yeah, yeah, pull it up.
to riff on. I'm going to read a little bit out loud because this is only like really the second time I've looked at it. All right, so Genesis mission, U.S. federal AI science program, a major new development. November 24th, the U.S. government, led by Donald Trump, signed an executive order establishing the Genesis mission. The White House, I'm sorry, that's the link. The mission tasks U.S. Department of Energy with organizing America's national laboratories, supercomputing resources, and decades worth of federal scientific data into a unified AI power platform dubbed the American Science and Security Platform, ASP. Oh shit. So basically, they can knock on your door and take your microphone and say it's needed for science now because we need to Tommy, we need your microphone in your studio. In fact, we need you to broadcast this because it's a matter of national security. The
And
goal is to use,
my argument and proponent of that is if it's not, you're getting drafted to go to Vietnam and die for fucking nothing.
that's right.
Keep
That's right.
going.
I mean, that is the reality.
Just what it sucks. It's what it is. Whatever. Keep going.
It's funny that yeah. I mean, it's funny you bring that up because it's funny to watch how, like, we're talking about what the United States is doing, and we're doing, and my opinion, in the West, we have the best reaction to what needs to be done. Other nations are talking about conscription. I think Germany said we're going to start conscripting again. Like,
Yeah.
these are not good reactions. These are reactions of people that are, idiotic. Anyway, let me just read the next paragraph here. The goal the goal is to use AI to train scientific foundation models and create AI agents to design experiments, test hypotheses automatically, and accelerate simulations and make breakthroughs across critical areas: energy, including fusion, biotechnology, material science, national security, etc. The DOE says the initiative aims to double the productivity and impact of American science and engineering within a decade. I like hearing mission statements like that, by the way. You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
It's
It's
just,
it,
but we could have the worst president, worst government in the world. The difference between us and the other countries is so far remains is that we do have a constitution, and it's really a pain in the ass to get rid of it. And as long as that's there, we're going to have someone eventually who steps in and reasserts our rights as people. I hope. Should I go on?
yeah,
Uh, According to the plan, within 60 days, the DOE must draw up a list of at least 20 science technology challenge areas of national importance to tackle under the program. Okay, just I want to say this, I want to speak economically. That is so fucking inflationary. Basically, you and I are sitting in our basement and we go, well, I think we have this new hammer. Now, I have a spinner here, right? So this spinner is made of silver. This we need to draw up a plan to make these part of the DOE now. And I could just see the government just throwing money at every project, and one or two will work, and that's great. That'll help the world. But along the ways, we're going to be tying up so many resources for this shit. This is so inflationary with the expectations that it'll be successful. The mission is framed as a national security and global competitiveness priority. There you go. That phrase right there. That is Cold War 2.0.
that should be
That's
the title of the whole thing. They snuck in
that's
the
the
last
space race,
paragraph. Yeah,
right?
that should be the title of the Genesis Project.
Right. That's the space race. That is, I just read something about what I was reading about Elon's rockets, and the Soviet Union in its last gasp, like when they were still trying to do shit, trying to reinvent, like make a utopia, they had successfully put a satellite. This is Elon Musk shit, okay? This is in the 70s or maybe late 80s. They put a satellite into space. They were still competing with us. And I learned about this because I'm very silver oriented. They put a satellite in space, and that satellite used a lot of silver. And the idea was that satellite was going to focus light, kind of like a Simpsons episode, into an area, and they'd be able to grow crops at different times of day. And the other aspect of it was it would get sunlight and restored it in a battery.
Hmm.
And it worked, but it was just too expensive. They didn't have any money left. All these things, like like Soylent Green type of stuff, where they wanted to use the ocean seaweed as a food substitute. I mean, all these things were working, but they collapsed, and so now they're all coming back under. It's another space race. I mean, that's what Elon Musk. That's the brilliance of what he did. He saw a space race is in our future again, a tech race. So, national security. Wow. Oh, conclusion. This is a large scale, high stakes national program that, if implemented as described, could transform how scientific research is done in the USA. No, it will. As you said, it's already done, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
um, in the US, and significantly raise the bar for AI driven science. As of late November 25, implementation is just beginning. Wow, that's crazy. So educate me. What are we doing here?
Again, I think it's something that is going to ultimately benefit the world, in that it's a mass marshaling of resources into a general direction. And again, just as like a microcosm, I would say look at SpaceX versus Blue Origin, right? It's self-landing rockets, and what is the importance of that? Is you're bringing down the weight for kilogram to orbit, which the Cold War, God knows how much to send up anything. The point is to bring it not back down, bring it down to the point where it's very cheap. And what you're doing is you're opening up a new front of existence, a new arena of reality. It's like, so what did the internet really do? Well, you can't really predict what the internet would do. Is you have the very broad idea. DARPA starts it, and then well, actually, ARPA starts it in the 50s. But
Right.
you can't predict things like Amazon, or the fact that me, a random dude with no education in broadcasting, have a biology degree, that I was able to just start a podcast, and then what came from the pod, like how did I end up becoming friends with, like, in what universe would you and I ever know each other and
Right.
become
Exactly.
buddies, right? And you have to just multiply that by a trillion. So really, what you're doing is You're creating a novelty engine, and that's the event horizon. You don't know what comes after that. And I
Right.
think that is in general, so not even with just AI, let's just say like self-landing rockets, bringing the cost down to get to orbit. That is bringing down this event horizon past which we don't know what it's going to be. I mean, the most broad things are, yeah, Elon really wants to go to Mars, and Jeff Bezos' whole thing is he wants to put heavy industry in orbit. We don't know what's coming after that,
Right.
but it's going to explode in novel ways that you can't ever predict. And again, if we don't do that, I think what we do is just destroy ourselves or destroy each other in retarded ways. And it's it goes back to if you and one person are like, hey, where do we want to, what do we want to do on Friday? It's very easy to kind of get to an agreement. If, in college when I was in a fraternity, to once you get to 10 guys, 20
Right.
guys,
Right.
you got to really start lowering the complexity of the plan.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. Lowest
we're
common
doing
denominator.
we're doing
Right.
a party Friday. Are we all going to agree that we're doing it at this house? Okay. Can everyone give $10 for beer? Okay. It's
Right.
very, very, but that simple plan is so much better than even the most complex plan with just, okay, two dudes just pre-gaming in a dorm. That's gay.
Right.
Stupid plan. Hey, you get 50 chicks there, 50 guys there. You're having a great time. It blows up into this awesome thing, but you have to really, really kind of dumb it. We're doing this. Everyone give $10 at the door.
Right.
The end. I think you have to do that for the broadest or the lowest denominator of just general human, I don't know, the condition, general human behavior is you have to push it in one direction. It's
Right.
just,
Right. Exactly. Give us something to focus on. Give society as something to focus
and
on.
let's not have it be a World War One or a World War Two or a Korea or a Vietnam or a global war on terror.
Right. Right.
Even Ukraine, Russia. What are we seeing in 3 years? Nothing. Just a
Nothing.
meat grinder of nothingness.
Right. And give the military industrial complex something constructive to do,
Yeah,
or they'll get you in a forever
it's the
war.
dog is chasing something. It's just what dogs do. It's a lot better to put a leash on all of them and do the
Right.
Iditarod and be like, hey, we're going somewhere. The dogs are
Right.
going to pull shit. I'm going to give them a treat. Let's at least go somewhere as opposed to
Right.
just dogs running in circles and shitting. It's just,
Right.
it's just what it is.
Right. No, 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 that's right. It's almost what's the old Protestant saying? Idle hands are the devil's
Idle
workshop.
hands, yes, yes.
It's totally that. It's
It's just what
all
it
those
is.
old phrases are so true now.
Yeah, exactly. And none of this is an ethical or moral like condoning of it, but it's
Yeah.
just a very honest of like, hey, it's what we are. It's
Right.
just what
Human
we
nature.
are.
Right. Right.
And I'd rather pitch us versus China, Russia, whatever block that will be, and
Right.
push it towards things like, greater compute power, smaller transistors, and who can get more mass to orbit. It's ultimately going to benefit us.
Right. Right. Winning the competition still benefits everyone. You make the pie bigger as
Yeah,
opposed to the sum of the parts. That's
yeah.
true. I agree. I agree. And so, and not but the and part, and I'm not pushing back. I'm just saying
I don't care.
the and part is the libertarian side. Um, I'm a small L libertarian. Recognizes the risk of X, Y, and Z down the road, but um, we did survive the Cold War without killing ourselves. So you have to be positive on humanity, and I'd rather be here than anywhere else. Let's put it that way.
I look at the Cold War as, again, sort of a competition engine, and it's a tightrope because if you fuck up, it's not, it's not Ukraine versus Russia where they take a town and then they take a town.
Right.
If you mess up, it's thermonuclear weapons falling
Right.
from orbit at Mach 23.
Right.
Okay. But if you don't, I mean, the progress from 1945, between 1945 and 1990, is just unimaginable. It went so hard and so fast. There's another old quote. If you want something done, give it to the busiest guy. When you
Yeah.
got a lot of
Exactly.
shit to do, you just get it done. It's
That's right.
when I was trying to get into med school, I was also the most in shape I ever was. It was the
Right.
healthiest I ever was. It was the
Right.
most money I was saving from my shitty job. It's you get the most out of it.
Right. And that's in and of itself being able to focus, like, the whole Rolling Stone gathers no moss thing.
Yeah.
As long as we're all Rolling Stones, not gathering moss. The problem is if we don't know where we're rolling, we'll screw it up. So
Yeah.
if we have something to roll towards, we'll do fine, which is what you were doing. Yeah. You marshal your resources more efficiently.
Yeah.
Crucible.
Yeah. And I also think that because the point at which it erupts is mutual assured destruction, it's almost guaranteed that it won't happen. When you don't
Right.
have that pre-nuclear weapon, yeah, look at World War One and World War Two.
Right.
You'd go, yeah, let's escalate. Let's start dropping mustard gas from planes. Let's start
Until
using
that, right.
flamethrowers.
Right.
Let's firebomb Dresden. Like because everyone can just keep talking shit and they will throw millions of lives into a meat grinder versus well, if we nuke them, they're going to nuke us. Okay, so we probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
It almost has its own stopgap. It almost has its own like limiting form.
Well, that
And so
was the détente between Russia and the U.S. or the USSR and the U.S. Reagan back in the day. Everyone joked about, oh, you could blow up the world 10 times, we could blow it up 11 times. That wasn't the point. The point was it's mutually assured destruction, so we
yeah,
won't do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's and I think it's just what you have to do is to push it all in one direction. And I, I think it's the least worst option. It's it's the very realistic again, it's like yes, is there wealth disparity in the US? Yes. There always will be. And some smart people point out the guys, the operators, the Bezos, the Gates, the Vanderbilt, the Carnegie,
right,
those are guys that they win the environment they're in. Just they get it done.
right,
Build a socialist country, they'll find a way to corrupt the fuck out of it and become part of
right,
the ruling oligarchs. It's just
right,
they're going to win. They're operators. They're going to win. Tom Brady is going to win the game he's playing. It's better to have it benefit everyone to the degree that it can. And I think that
right.
goes with this is it's just it's just what it is.
Yeah,
And ultimately, I mean, I think that it won't. So what they're talking about with like AI agents, the idea that Leopold Aschenbrenner put forward in this article he wrote was is creating AI researchers. So instead of just having X number of scientists, it's can you make this number of artificial scientists? And if you can create this number of them, you can then take them and direct them at creating better artificial scientists. So in a weird way, it's almost like boosting the population without the side effect of having to feed them. The idea is, can you essentially copy and paste AI researchers? So instead of going, we're going to push, progress in efficient space travel, we're going to push progress in, faster compute or, better biotechnology. Instead, it's can we create smarter computers? And then what do you do with that smart computer? Anything you want. You throw it in
right,
any
right,
direction you want. And so if we're ultimately increasing the amount and complexity and capability of compute in the world, you can then direct that at anything.
right. So agentic or AI agents, you're saying you can create a scientist that's actually a virtual scientist, feed it all the data on a topic, and say, this is your personality, this is what you're focused
Imagine
on.
if you could just take the smartest scientists and instead of them being like, yeah, well, they're the smartest scientists, but their only thing is geology. What if you could
Right,
just copy and paste that brain and go, research cheaper building materials. And then, hey, you over here, can you somehow make Amazon use even less fuel per mile of cargo? And can you look at specifically mining on the far side of the moon?
right.
That's what it is in theory. Now, granted, all this stuff is pie in the sky, but that's what it is in theory.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually practical. And I'll tell you why. I mean, I can give you some examples of that. I talked to a writer, a guy he writes for a living. His name is Oliver Bateman, and we were talking about how we're seeing more and more AI, in writing. And my writing is pretty straightforward. I take a bank report and I break it down so that people can understand it, or I'll write about something that's a developing issue. So it's completely proprietary. It's completely original. And I'll use AI to spell check and all that other bullshit. But I was talking to him and I'm like, dude, you know, how do you use AI? Because I was using it for titles and they were horrible. And he said, I go, why are the titles always this way? And this is about your agentic AI thing. He goes, well, what I've done is I've trained AI to write in different ways. If you don't train it, it will do whatever the bullshit is behind the screen. So, and I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, if you notice when you could tell when you're reading someone who's just basically asked AI to write it 100 words on a topic, it'll use a lot of M dashes, which are these like dashes. I use parentheses and commas, but AI will use M dashes. Like, I walked to the store, dash, with Tommy, dash, we bought some milk. And they use these fucking dashes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I don't know where it came from, but I'm seeing it a lot. And I asked him, like, what are these dashes? She goes, oh, that's the way they write in Europe. And this was trained on a European magazine. I'm like, no
Yeah.
shit. So anyway, the point of your agentic thing is he writes for technological magazines. I mean, magazines, right?
Yeah.
Economic stuff. And his big thing that he really writes, I love reading his stuff, is on wrestling. He's basically a historian when it comes to sports and wrestling. And wrestling is like one of his favorite topics. And I'm like, how are you writing on all these topics now? He goes, I know you understand them because we've talked about them. I go, but how are you doing? He goes, well, I'm training my knowledge in a database and I'm giving it to AI. And then I'm saying, I need to write an article on this, use my knowledge that I've given you, and then see if there's anything new that I've missed. And and then he'll end up writing it. But the point is, it'll spit it back. So he's got it's like one AI program, but one of them is wrestling, fine tune my wrestling work, fine tune this, and I'm like, oh, so that's agentic AI. He's taught, and I've tried to do it too. I'm not good at it. I can't do it, but he's teaching the AI to think in a certain way. So what I did, agentic AI, for fun, I gave it one of my articles and I threw it in there and I said, write this as if I was George Orwell. And it did. It didn't use any of that bullshit that you see out there. And that's what I think you're talking about. Write this in the mindset of Einstein. How would Einstein see this?
Hmm.
How would your anyway, I'm just riffing on this because I get it. It's like you create specialty AIs. Agentic AIs? Is that what they call it?
I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
And then like the kind of broad theme of what will come from this, and this isn't a new idea. This goes back to Ray Kurzweil writing about this in the early 2000s, is the race will then become almost specifically that. It will be, okay, let's say we just have, let's shits and giggles, let's say we have 1,000 AI researchers. That's just whatever. Nation
Right,
of 350 million, we have them. If you can make 1,000 rough copies of them, let's just say you somehow get them to be equal intelligence. What you won't end up doing, and this is kind of back to the human condition thing, is you're not going to immediately take them and say, okay, solve housing. Instead, you're going to take them and go, create 1,000 more of you guys that are 10% smarter. And now you have 1,000 human researchers, and we have 1,000 copies of them. So now we have 2,000 guys creating a second generation of, let's say, 1,000 computers that are 10% smarter than them.
right,
What do you do with that smarter group now? Well, actually, what you do is you then take that group and go design a generation 10% better than you, and then the previous 2,000 guys, you help them. All right, now you get this new thing that's 30% stronger. Now all you
right,
guys create a new group that's 50%, and you just you telescope down. You just go down into this to the point where iteration after iteration after iteration is getting smarter and faster and faster, and each generation is coming on quicker and quicker and quicker because now you have a greater amount of minds working towards this thing till ostensibly you hit a runaway point, a singularity point, and
right,
then all you would need is 1% of 1% of those super generations. You could take one of those and be like, okay, go cure cancer, and it will go cure cancer. You take one, and this is again all the
right.
theoretical, and it,
No, no, you
and
are
that's it's like, so well, why do you push it? Well, because you want to reach the big one, the AGI, and then the AGI creates the ASI, before China does, before Russia does. And
Right,
that's the human component of if we don't do it, they're going to fucking kill us. But
right,
ultimately, what it leads to is stronger and stronger and more efficient computers to the point where you can peel off a tiny point of that from 2030 and it will be the equivalent of 10 million AI researchers. And it will be so cheap that, like, every human gets one. So I could now take the strongest computer ever and be like, get, whatever, improve Tommy's X, improve Vince's X. And
right, right.
that is what it is in theory. Will it play out that way? Almost certainly not, just because nothing does. But back to the broad thing of what we're talking about, it might. And
That's a
it might
goal.
is a better goal than what we're gonna just gear up and fight Ukraine and Russia until 2050.
Oh, it's a positive direction. I agree. I mean, um, it's going to succeed to a degree, and if it does succeed on that path, if we go on that path, the limitations will be physical. So, in its simplest terms, it's computing power, it's power, it's electricity, it's the natural resources to make the electricity. It's the unless, of course, we get cold fusion, and that's the key. Free energy, like if we were to have cold fusion, or something that we are going to have, so we have it already. Um, oh, what the hell's the name of it? The salt reactors. Oh, it starts with a T. Anyway, not
Thorium?
lithium.
Thorium?
Uh, I'm sorry.
Thorium.
Right. The thorium nuclear reactors they are real, they work, they're not scalable yet, and they're improving them. China is fusion is what everyone talks about, but thorium, the thorium nuclear reactors, molten salt basically is the next thing in terms of free energy, and free energy brings us down your path more. And the thorium reactor, from what I know about it, is simply it's a nuclear reactor that once it gets started, it's much lower cost to be self-sustaining because it holds the heat, so to speak, hence the molten salt. Um, and if they can do that, and scarcity is no longer a problem, then the problem will just be making sure that everybody gets access to it, and that's what the pathway is for. Yeah, it's good.
I think that's probably where it will go is if we can just hit this point of computational capability, it sort of overflows into other things.
It's like a
And
tipping point, right?
yeah, and you could roll your eyes and be like, yeah, that sounds like pie in the sky. Yeah, but that's again, that's look back at the Cold War and pretend that you don't have the benefit of hindsight.
Right,
In general, what we pushed a lot of weird shit, a lot of stupid stuff that didn't work, but a lot of stuff that did work. We threw a ton of money into like, like psychokinesis and remote viewing, and some of it worked, and a lot of it was a weird novelty. Okay.
right,
A lot of other things we pushed, and what be it power generation or be it the internet or whatever. We had to have GPS for military application, and now it's, we all benefit from it. I think in general, this is a more productive goal is to push. So actually to revisit that mission statement where they're like, it's AI compute, and then they list all the shit from biotechnology to fusion to whatever. That might actually not be wrong in that the idea is, it's like if you had a zillion goals in your life, one to focus on might be make a lot of money. That does, like it or not, that does spill over into a lot of things. You can get a personal trainer, you can get a better apartment, you can get a better home, you can get better health care, you can whatever. A
uh-huh.
lot of it does kind of get taken care of. I think in general, that's what this is if we can push this to some new breakneck speed of technology, there will be benefits to the average person. And you can look back over the last century or really the last several, and in general, you see an increase in life expectancy, a decrease in infant mortality, a decrease in starvation, a decrease in gross number as well as percentage number of people that die violent deaths. I think in general, this is the right direction to go. And it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be, of course, there's going to be a ton of bullshit and a ton of people are going to make a ton of money that don't deserve it. But I think as far as like what we as humans do, I think this is the best thing to hope for
right?
is a form of Cold War that expedites technology that will benefit everyone.
The benefits of the Cold War.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, people talk about it from the Nazi perspective, World War II, but if you talk about the Cold War, literally staying with the Cold War, we would not have scientists in those days looking for synthetic rubber. Of course, DuPont created silly putty when they were doing that. We
Yeah.
would not have, the rockets that we use to go to space are still the ones basically developed by the Soviets. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
whatever the boosters,
ICBMs,
whatever they.
intercontinental ballistic missiles. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that was and because of that, the space race had benefits, and
Yeah.
it's the they talk about collateral damage, and there will be collateral damage in this, but I don't know if I'm coining a phrase, but what we're talking about here is collateral benefits
Yeah.
to the competition.
Yeah. And again, it's like, what made things like, the Apollo program or the space shuttle happen and this, subsequently the space station and orbital internet and it all came from we had to get these rockets. And why do you have to get these rockets? Because they can deliver bombs faster than planes can. That's
Yeah,
what it all came down to. That's the
yeah,
reason we brought them all back from Nazi Germany. The reason was not, well, one day we'll be able to provide communications for the common man. It was, all right, so we just dropped a nuke on Japan. We're pretty sure Russia has one. What is the limiting factor now? The ability to deliver it. Well,
right,
what if instead of a 12-hour, plane flight that they're going to be able to detect, what if you could just strap it on something and shoot it from your own backyard and it reaches there in 30 minutes? Like, God damn it, we're going to do that. That's
right,
what it came from. It came
right,
from well, not just a weapon system, it came from the desire to drop megatons of destructive hell on anyone in the world in under 30 minutes. It
right,
came from the worst of us.
right.
And it has
That
benefited all of us in
it's
ways that nothing else ever has.
very yin and yang.
That's how I look at it. It's like, why are we pursuing AI? We're not, hey, the people that are pursuing it, they're not doing it so that infant mortality goes lower. They're
Right.
doing it so that they can exert their will over China.
Yeah, it seems that all the great advances for humanity come from two
The
areas.
lust to destroy everyone that
Right,
isn't
right,
you.
right. Unfortunately, the resistance. It's like you have the crazy guy, and you say, figure out a way to kill everyone, and then everyone else keeps him in check once he figures it out. But hopefully, yeah, that's right. That is the utopia. The utopia is 50-year cycles. I mean, the 1990 to 2000 and to use your to use the 1945, let's call it 1945 to call it 2010 was the Cold War, the resistance to actually acting on the Cold War and the benefits from it. 2020 to now is us realizing that utopia between 2010 and 2020 didn't work. We need something to focus on. Yeah,
And it also came from, it's like, what is like widely agreed, we all look back and go, oh, that was the best, is the 90s. Where did the 90s come from?
that's right. That's
The
right.
Cold War.
That's
It's
right.
where
Right.
it fucking came from. Like,
That was the dividend of the Cold War.
that's
Hey,
my point. Is in
right,
like everyone looks back and you go, yeah, Michael Jordan and Disney and hey man, like yeah, that's where it came from.
right,
And what and where are we now? It's well, this is all manifesting from 20 years of nothing.
right,
It's just
right,
what
right.
it is. It's just we benefit when we all want to fucking kill each other.
Give me something important to focus on, or I will obsess. We're all obsessive in terms of like you were talking about at the beginning about when you had one thing to do, you did it right. I know that feeling. When it was important for me uh, to do something really good, I did it, better than anyone, at least in my field. And then that moves on. But if I didn't have a goal or a desire, you end up spinning your wheels. And of course you could have great things come from that, but generally speaking, you're smoking a joint on the couch, watching reruns of Beavis and Butthead,
Yeah.
or you're thinking about ways to kill people.
Yeah. Yes. It's just It's just what it is. It's like I don't, and some people might go like, well, that's not me. I don't have that desire. Okay, fair enough. But some very smart people do have that desire. So
which come
how do you corral them? You might, hey, God bless, you might be able to have idle hands and not do the devil's work. There are some dudes with a 200 IQ that want to do the devil's work.
right, which brings us back to something we talked about in another show. There is a group. Society is made up. 5% of society is mentally ill, and it's more than five. But let's. I'm giving you like a number that makes sense. And they're sociopaths. They have a reduced uh, uh, ability to empathize. They don't have morals in the way that we have it. They're unimpeded by ethics. Now, of this 5% of these sociopaths, and that includes psychopaths and narcissists and all those people like that. Trump, they're all like that. Okay. Those people are spread out through society. And fortunately, half of them are dumb. And those are the ones that rob parked cars. You
Yeah.
know, the other half are smart. And when you get up against the really, really smart sociopaths who have a goal, who don't care what you think, you get Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. So we've got we've got to let those guys do what they do exactly. You got
And then push it just
right, right.
this
I mean,
way.
we just don't want them to be too concentrated in one place, because you end up with Nazi Germany. Like you had a
Yeah.
lot of sociopaths that were smart in one place. So as long as we have a constitution to make sure Elon doesn't get too crazy or Bezos doesn't get too crazy or Trump doesn't get too crazy, then I'm cool with it. Let's put our sociopaths to work for the betterment of humanity. That's it. That's my thesis. I think,
No, no, it's 100% what it is. It's you have these guys like make something that we're going in this direction.
yeah,
Like judo it. We got to go this way, all
right,
right?
right.
Because you're not going to stop them if they decide that they got nothing going on and they're like, I'm going to kill everyone.
Yeah,
I'm going to do this. It's like
right,
put a sail around that wind and be like, we're going to
right.
go this way. We're going to do something that
Right.
way.
The difference between a murderous general and a rocket creating entrepreneur, meaning like Elon Musk versus Pol Pot, might be the opportunity afforded them to redirect their energy into something positive. You know what I mean? Like,
It's, in the last couple of, Donald Rumsfeld died, Dick Cheney died, Colin Powell died. It's like the guys that architected the war on terror, like
yep,
Henry Kissinger. Listen, I would rather have all of them focused on how are we going to get reliably to Mars as opposed to just,
yeah,
I don't know, find something to spend the DOD on.
yeah,
I would rather have, because they're not going away. Those people aren't going away.
that's right.
I'd rather have Dick Cheney be like, I'm going to get us to Mars before anyone else does.
And it is my opinion that World War One and World War Two happened because too many of those people were in power and weren't given something constructive to do.
Yeah.
There were too many Dick Cheneys out there
Yes.
saying, you know what? Yeah,
You let the dog out or the dog's going to rip the couch to pieces.
yeah,
It's
right,
just
right.
what it is.
Right, right. Sociopaths are border collies.
Yeah.
Like I had a border collie, and if you don't exercise like Australian shepherds and border collies or some, they're wrapped tight. If you don't give them something to do, like I wasn't exercising mine enough, and I noticed that I thought it was cute, but I was told no, it's not good. He has a lot of toys to play with, and so he would take all the toys and he would I'd throw them around the house and he would herd them. Like he would herd them like a border collie, put them all together and circle them and look at them. And I'm like, isn't that cute? And the vet's like, no, no, no. Your dog's neurotic. Give it some real exercise to do because when you're out of the house, after it tears the toys up, it tears your couch up, to your point. So I think sociopaths are border collies, that we need to give them something to do.
And so then it comes down to like, well, do I have to have the border collie? Can I just kill the border collie? So let's just go with this. Like,
Right.
well, if we have these sociopaths, if we have these Musks and these Bezoses,
Yep.
they're just gonna do stuff. Well, then how about we just go out and kill them? Okay, well now you're back to square one, and now you're doing something pretty negative. Let's
Right.
kill.
Right.
It's like
Right.
yes, you can, but if the goal is to not do that, then it's instead push it in a direction. It's just
Right.
That's how I look at it.
You can't get rid of it like you can't get rid of poverty. The analogy that I have thought of, I've been thinking of while we're talking about this, is people at the top of the food chain in terms of predatory behavior are sociopathy, psychopaths actually, but sociopaths are right under them. Well, who's at the top of the food chain in the ocean? Call it an orca, call it a shark. If you kill all the sharks, your ocean's screwed up. You need an ecosystem, and you need a healthy amount of sociopaths. Just don't all let them live in one spot because everything
Yes.
else will get killed. You got to give them something to do.
And again, I think that's like the brilliance of America is people are like, who needs $100 billion? Sure, I'll throw the lefties a bone. No one does. But they're going to go out and win and achieve. If you say, hey, part of the loophole of America is you can get $100 billion and you can own 10 islands and a 747,
Right,
they're going to pursue that. And they're going to pursue it by then creating shit that we all use, like
right.
Amazon or UPS or Starlink or self-driving cars.
Yeah,
If you don't give them that out, they're going to amass that fortune and that power through any means necessary, which traditionally is you become a warlord of sorts.
right. Or
Like,
A James Bond villain, like a
yes,
laser.
and it's that's what it is. So it's like, I mean, again, it's now we haven't really done well with using nuclear energy, but it seems like we're kind of getting there, 90 years later
Right,
we're starting to build these and go, oh, well, we can use these to power these AI farms. But even that, it's like, well, how did we figure out how to harness the power of an atom?
right. To
And
end to kill
what
people.
was it? Was it so that every pregnant mom can have an air conditioner run for free? No. It was to liquefy the brains of the Japanese. It was so
Right,
hot it liquefied their brains before their
right,
bodies disintegrated. That's what we did. Like,
right.
why do we have rockets? To take that and deliver it anywhere.
And to
Like,
link it back to something you said earlier, you're talking about Dresden,
yeah, yeah,
as an
yeah.
example. Even though we had nuclear bombs, there was enough sociopaths in charge. Say, you know what? Let's just burn
Well,
Dresden
ours
to the
weren't. No,
ground
no.
anyway.
We did Dresden because that was before the A bomb had we hadn't developed it yet.
Okay, okay, all
That's the
right.
only
So
reason.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of. I put it this way: why did we firebomb Tokyo? Like, no, are you sure Dresden was before?
Yes, because we detonated because Germany, what, Hitler committed suicide at the end of April. The first A
Oh, the
bomb was
Japanese surrendered after.
Yeah, the first A bomb was detonated, and the test one was July 16th. So that
Right.
was after the Germans surrendered. But
Okay.
even yeah, yeah,
No, no. So I'll recalibrate my opinion. My opinion is the sociopaths that were, I forget the guy's name. You know his name. Very important military leader, was behind the logistics of the firebombing of Tokyo.
General Curtis LeMay.
Yeah, there's another guy too, though. It's an Irish name, like McIntyre or something like that.
I don't know.
Someone important in Vietnam as well. I forget his name. But the fire bombings in Tokyo, I could just imagine when the nuclear bombs worked, the firebombing guys were like, "Oh shit, now we're out of a job." Like,
Well, that was an issue. Is Curtis LeMay, who is like what Doctor Strangelove, that whole movie's around, is
right?
he was bombing so much shit in Japan
I
that the
know.
guys who wanted the A bomb were like, "Hey, don't bomb these cities." And it's because we want to see what the A bomb does to an untouched city. It was
Oh,
just,
really?
it was bad incentives all around. LeMay was
Wow.
like, "Let me burn them
Right, because they
to
had
a
wooden
crisp."
houses. They had a
And
lot
then
of wooden
Leslie
houses.
Groves was like, "No, don't bomb that city." And it's not because I care for the Japanese people. It's because I want to see what the A bomb does
My
to an
God.
untouched city. Like, all of these forces are like the worst in match, but it's like, why did we have these forces? Well, because Japan attacked us. It's like all of this shit comes from just, yeah, dude, we are demons from hell.
Right, right.
If you can instead point it to something, it's so well, all the rockets right now, these are just billionaires' vanity projects. In the past, vanity projects are crusades. Like, all right, so
Yeah,
it's better to have rockets that land themselves. Like, that's good.
right.
Okay, like, yeah,
Rich people's vanity projects have been behind a lot of success. Like that, people talk about innovation. It's rich people's vanity projects and toy makers who make the things that matter. Like the hot air balloon, which these things are
Yeah,
just like,
Graf von Zeppelin, all that shit back in the 1890s and
yeah,
19 that all came about not for the magic of air flight. It was we can fly up there and go over their border and then throw shit down at them and they
yeah,
can't
yeah,
stop.
exactly.
That's what it
Right.
fucking was. That's why
Yeah,
Germany got all the funding for. I've read a book. It's called Empires of the Sky. They built this thing. Graf von Zeppelin. He personally just really liked blimps. The
right,
German government was like, so he took it up and he brought it on some trial. And they're all clapping in three-piece suits and they're whatever the pipes. And part of the trial is whatever what country's next to Germany is France, Poland, which one borders
Austria, Poland,
whatever.
France, yeah,
At the end of the hour-long demonstration, he decided to go 10 minutes over and he flew deep into their country and then came back.
right,
Didn't do anything, but all the people watching it were like, "Ooh,
right. All of a
you
sudden,
could
it's
you
airspace,
you could drop bombs from that." And
right,
then the funding went out the fucking wazoo for it. And then the funding came here. And then the Wright brothers were like, "Hey, we can do something that's even better." And we were like, "Fund that." Like that's where air flight came from. That's why we
right,
have air travel. That's why we have where the jet engine came from. The Messerschmitt 262, the German thing, so it could
right.
fly around faster and kill more
And
fucking
the
people.
buzz bombs, right?
Yes,
The
the
V,
V2 rockets. That's where
right.
all the original solid fuel and liquid fuel
Yep,
came from.
yep,
Was that? It's like, hey man, like no, it's not good. But like, where do we get all the ability to fly things at a long distance and carry a huge payload? The B-17, the B-29, the B-52, the B-36. Where did it
right.
all came from? So that we could deliver bombs
Well,
nonstop to
the B
Germany.
stands for bomber,
Yeah, yes, it's like that's where all this shit came from,
right,
and then we ended up kind of not really using it, and so now you can go spend $100 and fly across the country in a metal tube.
right.
Like it's
It's good,
and I don't think it's cynical. I think it's being realistic. That it's just it's just what we do
right.
as a life form.
Well, that's big picture, and I'm with you on that. The thing is, I think it's really hard for it may not be hard for you or may not be hard for me, but I think uh, what usually happens when these changes happen, whether it be out of a Cold War or into a Cold War or in between wars, there's like a lost generation. Like these ideas that you're talking about at your young age and that I've experienced from the previous reset economically, they have to happen, and it takes a generation. And I think people like us talking about it may have people see it a little bit faster and accept the fate without actually being happy about it. But maybe we won't lose a whole generation. And I say the generation loss is because you have people in denial. Like in the 70s, there had to be a generational change in how our economy worked. And instead of educating people and letting them hear things that you're saying or that I'm saying, people just said, no, double down. We want to do this. And it took 20 years to clear that shit out. Maybe we can clear it out in 5 now
Hmm.
and not kill each other.
I think that's kind of what it comes down to. It's like, how do you do it and kill the least number of people? And you might look at that and be like, that's a pretty sad threshold.
Right.
Yes, but it's the most realistic one.
Well, it's goal to achievement. My father said to me when he was in the army, he said, he said the whole point of the military was once they got you on the same page, they would tell you, like for example, to take R&R, take 10-minute break. They'd say, take 10 minutes. And then the sergeant would say, expect 5 and get 2 minutes break. But otherwise, you would do nothing else productive and you would just sit there and be idiots. And the point
Yeah.
is, once you realize you have um, a finite amount of time and a focused, whether it be enemy or nemesis or competitor, you get shit done.
And that's kind of where I come down on all of this.
Yeah,
It's like push it in a direction.
yeah,
And will it work? I don't know. I mean, are they selling it with a grandiose aura? Of course they are. You always do.
right,
I just I think it's the least worst way to go.
right. I think here's the negative side that I frequently think about because I'm in tune with the positive side. The negative side is and I've said this about Trump. I understand what he's doing or what he's been told to do. I understand the process that we're going through all throughout his second term. I go, this really makes sense. It's what we have to do. We have to manufacture. We have to do this. We have to do that. But then I realized that the purse strings, this comes down to something actually pretty simple. Uh, when this federal government, um, uh, what's the word, coalesces or corporatizes America, which is what this whole conversation started with, some great things can come of it. But I just don't trust the people in underneath the people in charge. Like I feel like you end up with like $500 hammers instead of what we really need to have happen. And that's what bothers me. That's where the generations get lost because the bridge to nowhere gets built. Centralized authority builds cities in China that no one use, and that's my concern. My concern is that uh, the grandiose ideas, what you talked about, even the good, even the real ones, they get lost because the people in charge of the purse strings screw everything up. That's what I'm worried about. That's why I'm buying inflation. That's
Yeah.
why I'm buying inflation.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Um, I don't know. I kind of look at it like I think JFK had a good heart, and I think his goals were good. Like we don't need these endless wars.
Right.
And respectfully, I think he went into it just kind of he went way too. He was like, we're gonna splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces, and we're gonna do the space race with the Soviets.
Yeah.
Hey, your heart's in a good place. You went in way too quick, way too fast, and they blew your head off. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's what it is.
No, he could have been a balancing factor had he not pushed so hard. Instead, he
I
put
think
us in
what you
Vietnam.
need to do, and it's what they're doing now, is you don't say to the military, yes, in an ideal world, would we have, of course, we would all be saying kumbaya, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't
Right.
happen. I think the way to deal with this monster, the military industrial complex, and in its benefit, its ability to create, is you don't just say you can't have it anymore, we're getting rid of you, because it just kills the president. It's just what it is.
Right.
Instead, you go, we're gonna do this goal. And instead of like, hey, how do we bomb these brown people in, the Kandahar Valley for 20 years? Instead, you go, how do you create AGI or, whatever,
Right.
nanotechnology? You're still going to get these crazy checks that the budget's going to be $1 trillion. I think that's how you do like a soft JFK is like
Yeah.
less blowing up kids. You're still going to do some of that, but we're going to do this. But you're still getting hey, Raytheon, you're still going to get $400 billion.
Right.
Okay. Okay, it's all right. We're not going to shoot the president.
Right.
And again,
Right.
yeah, ethically, morally, yeah, sure. In an
It
ideal
sounds like
world,
we're pro deep state. It sounds like we're pro deep state now.
I'm not even that. I'm
I'm
just trying.
goofing. I don't mean that.
Yeah, no,
You know.
no. I'm just trying to be like very realistic about
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we're gonna do. It's
Right. JFK was an idealist, and
and God
idealists,
bless, but
like communists, look for utopias, and utopias end up with a lot of dead mice.
yes, it's yeah. So I don't know, but those are kind of all my thoughts on it. We've been going for about an hour and a half almost.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it
It's
up.
Saturday. It's Saturday.
Yeah, but
This has been good. So Cold
yeah,
War 2.0, we are now pro Cold War. That's
yes.
it. That's
Yes, I
it.
am. And it's not because I'm a war hawk. It's because I actually think it's the most realistic and pragmatic way to have peace.
The War of the Roses. Uh,
It's just what it is. That's
right.
how I
Would you
look at
rather
it.
have 30 years of tension with collateral benefits or 30 years of peace? Actually, not even 30 years of peace.
But it's not peace. That's the thing.
I was about to say 10 years of peace in quotes with nonstop war. Right.
It's
Globalist war versus segmented versus divided peace. That's what it is.
that's my point. Is like, yes, 30 years of course, but that's not an option. The option is we're gonna try for 30 years of peace, and then we just end up bombing Iraq. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like it's Someone's getting the contracts. It's either because we're creating a vaccine for a virus that doesn't
Yep.
need a vaccine. It's like, let's just, how about rockets that take off? And, then the backside is, I don't know, maybe we get cheaper internet. Like, I don't know. It's
Oh, well, let's talk about the most important invention of all time, and that was Tang. Right? Tang was invented for the astronauts to have something to eat in space, and so now we all have vitamin C in powdered form. That's a benefit. Thank God for Tang.
I wouldn't say the best, but I think the point stands.
Well, in the top five at least.
Top five, up there with the internet and
Oh
liquid
yeah,
fuel rockets. Yeah,
and I think Velcro fasteners were invented by Nazi scientists.
probably. I mean, like,
Look it
it,
up. I think it's true. I think it's true.
it's. I don't.
They probably needed something in space, and they invented. We should look it up. Velcro fasteners invented by Nazi scientists for NASA. Probably.
But that's again, that's kind of where it's in 50 years. You're probably there's probably going to be like self-driving, self-flying ambulance drones that come pick you up, and and if we're gonna go, well, where'd that come from? And we'll look back and be like, well, actually, the advent of drones came from the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, where all these little, autonomous drones were blowing people to pieces.
I was thinking about that. Like,
Like,
you remember, I mean, you're a historian in terms of wars, right? Vietnam was like where both sides of the table were testing their new military stuff. It's like
mhm.
proxy wars, right? Isn't that what the Ukraine war is? Russia's like, oh, let's try
That's
this
a
drone thing.
trillion percent what it is.
Totally, right? They're just blowing the shit out of here. Send them some F-16s. Oh, those like the Germans were sending their Tiger or Panther tanks, and the Russians were like, okay, here's a couple drones. We'll kill you. Like
Yes,
war is completely changed now.
that's what's happening in Ukraine and Russia is the shit we normally do out in Nevada, where we just go bomb little targets made out of cardboard. But instead, we go,
Right?
hey, here are real humans. Like,
A field
you,
test. The war is
it's
a
like,
field test.
okay,
Yeah.
so I'd rather a field test where we don't blow up a bunch of unfortunate 18-year-old dudes in Russia and Ukraine that are half my age who won't see 20. Like,
Right.
it's just what it is. It's not
Yeah.
great. It's just what it is. Like, that's how I look at it. Is it's a shitty reality. How do we take the least shitty reality?
Yep.
And sure, you can say we don't, we're not going to stand for any of it. We're going to outlaw crime and outlaw starvation. Like, good luck. Good luck. It's not going to work. It never does. And so I'd rather this. I'd rather this thing happen and then, whatever. So I don't know, but neither of us actually have any background in any of this. So disclaimer at the end, Vince and I have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. So,
Exactly.
um, but yeah,
Exactly.
let's wrap this shit up. Everybody go in the description. Please go follow him on Twitter. Please go follow his Substack. I think all the links to your stuff is in there. And, dude, I appreciate your time as always. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Great discussion. Good
All right,
topic
brother.
to not talk about metals for a change, right? I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that shit.
yeah,
I love this shit.
absolutely.
I look forward to these. Thank
All right,
you.
brother. Vince, you have a wonderful day. Thank you
You
so
too.
much. Hey guys, real quick, you guys know Basil Baz, ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. I just did a fundraiser with them the other day, and I'm going to put this on to every episode I do. They are special forces veterans who physically rescue trafficked children. They have since 1993. They have a 100% success rate. They do not take salaries. They all have day jobs, and they literally rescue sex trafficked children. Donations to them are a tax write-off. I get nothing from them, and they have not asked me to put this on. I've included this little clip on episodes for the last year or so, and I'm just re-recording it because I just got to meet him just 2 days ago for future. It's November 25th, 2025, but this will be on every episode now for the next year. And there is nothing better you can do with your money. If you can support them for even $5, please do that. It is, they truly are doing the Lord's work, and I think we all have an obligation to do that. Thank you so much.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a blue room soon. www.blueroom.com.
Hey guys, a huge sponsor of the show is Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. Clayton lives down in Georgia. He's been on the show before. It's actually nearby where I went to college. They are a huge sponsor of the show. They give me some money every month, even when I don't sell enough to warrant that paycheck. Meaning that the show is not free. It's just that it's free for you. If you guys need prepper food, or if you're just interested in supporting the show, I'd please ask you to go to the link in the description. Go to Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, promo code TPC for 10% off. 72 servings per pail, 25-year shelf life. These things are, they double as dumbbells. Pasta Primavera, cheesy potato soup, mac and cheese, loaded baked potato casserole, chili mac, cheddar broccoli soup, cheesy lasagna, teriyaki rice. You can get banana chips. There's also raspberries, strawberries, and apples. There's a bunch of freeze-dried fruit, or you can even get seeds to plant your own garden. It's not a bad thing to have. It's like gold or ammunition. It's a good thing to have. It's a bad thing if you have to use it, but it's good. It's good to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So that's what I'd say. And if you just want to support the show, please go to the link in the description. Please go support them because they support me. Thank you so much, guys.